Arigata, Mr. Nakata. Pleased to meet you. My name is Johnnie Walker. I'm very sorry you do not like whiskey. Can I get you a decapitated kitty? I promise that I didn't want to hurt them. I just need their souls to build a giant woodwind. A giant flute to steal souls like a bandit. You're simple, you may not understand it. Here's the sack of cats, now I am gonna kill them all, finishing with Goma, unless you're gonna have to come and kill me. Otherwise, I'm gonna stab these kitties like, yeah. Pop a pussy in my mouth, it is my art. Yeah. Chopping on a pussy was his beating heart. Yeah. Stop me now, a little Goma never goes home. Ha. Venerating leeches will lead you to the bone. Yeah. Hello, hi, here I am. Guys, you are listening to the Kill Your Gods podcast, and this is episode 2 of 5 as we discuss Haruki Murakami's Kafka on the Shore, chapters 11 to 20. My guest this week, I saw they had also done an episode on Kafka on the Shore. I really wanted to have them on. That would be Nate, Jimmy, and Mike from the Drunk Guys Book Club podcast. I had a great time with these guys. Yeah, I guess I have to address that opening song. I haven't done a song in a bit, so I thought I would write a song about good old Johnnie Walker and his love of cats and eating their hearts. The weirdest thing about listening back to that, I hadn't realized I could make a cat sound pretty good. It just sounded like a dude making a cat sound to me, but I listened back to the recording like, ooh, have I found a whole new career path to go down? Will I be the Frank Welker of the podcast there? Frank Welker does a lot of animal voices. He did the voice of Nibbler on Futurama. Yeah, I loved having these guys on. Go check out the Drunk Guys Book Club podcast. I just got back from my bachelor party. That was a lot of fun. Without getting into too much details, yeah, I think I'm going to try to get all these episodes recorded, and I will be getting married May 1st, and I'll be on my honeymoon May 3rd to 7th, but there will be a new episode up. We should be wrapping up Murakami. I think what I'm going to do, formatting update, I think what I'm going to do, because you guys know I like to talk about a lot of different things, I think we're going to move on a month-to-month basis. In this case, April 2021 is the month of Kafka on the Shore by Haruki Murakami. And I think next month we're going to do a bunch of music episodes. And then after that, we'll go back to the Bible. And then so on and so forth. This way I can get to a lot of different topics. And I always look at it as, hey, this way, if you hit a month and you're like, I'm not interested in this, you can always come back next month. And there will be more stuff there for you. So follow me at all the things at Jesse Dram. Kill Your Gods. Well, it's at Mr. Jessico, but if you put in Kill Your Gods, my YouTube will come up. No stand-up coming up right now, as far as I know. I have a musical roast battle that I still need to write jokes for tomorrow against Jay Simpson. Go look up Jay Simpson comedy on YouTube. That guy writes musical comedy, and he's hilarious. He's part of the reason I've started writing again. I might have... He has a song about, pretty much it's from the point of view of Prince, if he were a baby. And the chorus is, I put your titty in my mouth! So, I might have taken a little inspiration from that. Thank you, Jay. Check him out. He actually has a tour of Alabama coming up. So, again, yeah, look up Lemaire Lee, who was on a few weeks ago. Look up Jason Simpson. They're going to be on a tour through, I know they're playing a show in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. So go check out, the extended Kill Your Gods universe, wherever they may be in a venue near you. I don't know. I've done enough talking. I hope you guys love the stupid song. Go check out the Drunk Guys Book Club podcast, because I think I'm going to be going on there sometime soon to discuss a different book. That's it. Yeah. Here we are again on the Kill Your Gods podcast. We're in the middle. middle. We're slightly before the middle. We're at part 2 of 5 of Murakami's Kafka on the Shore, chapter 11 to 20. So get your books open, and we're going to get right into some hand jobs right out the gate. Joining me, my guest this week from the Drunk Guys Book Club podcast. It is Mike, it is Nate, it is Jimmy, Drunk Guys Book Club podcast. How you guys doing?
Good. Thanks for having us.
Indeed.
Yeah, very glad to have you. So yeah, I was pretty much whenever I'm doing a series like this, just because my own thing tends to be I love reading books and none of my friends like reading books. It's only because I'm better than them, of course. But so when I'm looking for guests like this, typically I'm searching other podcasts, I'm searching Twitter, just seeing anybody who mentioned it. And I saw that you guys had mentioned Kafka on the Shore, and just the concept of the Drunk Guys Book Club is something else. How did you guys start? And if you want to throw your social media in there, anywhere place we can find you.
We're all over the place. We're on Twitter at Drunk Guys BC. Jimmy, what are the other ones? I don't even know.
Facebook and Instagram at Drunk Guys Book Club, which is pretty straightforward.
Yeah. And so it started many years ago. This is our 4th year of doing this. July of 2017 we started.
Okay.
Officially, but Nate and I had been working on it for like more than a year before that, just kind of waiting to get the energy to actually edit and post something. But we would drink a lot of beers and talk books as part of our conversations. We thought it'd be a fun idea for a podcast, and then 200 plus episodes later, here we are.
Wow, that's great. How do you guys know each other? What's the origin?
Jimmy and I went to high school together, actually, and kept in touch for better or for worse. And then Nate and I worked together at one point, and we were, Nate and I started the podcast, and then Jimmy was one of our friends that were like, "Hey, can you listen to this and tell us how much it sucks or what we could do to make it better?" And he had feedback, and then I guess I don't know exactly, Jimmy. How do you remember? But how?
I joined around like episode 22 or 21 or something like that for what was it called?
Christmas Carol.
That was the first
Orange.
batch. It was Clockwork Orange, I think, was the first one or something like that. Yeah.
And Nate and I were like, let's see if he's any good, and and we kept him around because he brought really good beers.
100 dick jokes later, we were like, okay, he's in.
100.
Hell yeah.
That was the first episode. Yeah.
I mean, well, Dickens is the first place for it. It sounds like a plural of Dickel right there. So
I think it's the old Middle English version or something. It's we're just in the middle of recording episodes for we're doing all Shakespeare this month.
Oh,
so it seems
okay.
appropriate.
Nice. I looked up what was your last episode to go up, and I saw you were doing Midsummer Night's Dream, which I played Demetrius in high school. Yes.
Was he one of the 4 people?
Yes. He's one of the 4 lovers. I think he's like the wussier of the 2. I think I forget who he ends up with.
Gets into a slap fight with somebody.
I do remember the slap fight scene. So, let me ask, what's been your most popular episode so far as like just downloads and interaction? I'm very curious what book people react to, especially with the book alcoholism crossover.
Well, the episodes from the first year have the most downloads because they've just kind of been out for the longest time. And obviously, or we found very early that sort of the more famous the book, the more downloads it was going to get. So we just tried to stick to just famous things, but we've now done a lot of them. I believe 1984 is still probably our most downloaded episode.
Okay.
The dumb ones do
that
well
was one
too.
of our earliest ones.
Mm-hmm. Have you guys covered Infinite Jest yet? Because that's actually how this podcast started.
No, we have not. It's on our to-do list. I've read it, and I actually liked it, so I don't know if we could be friends, but it's just, since we do a weekly podcast,
oh yeah,
that's a big investment. I when I read it the first time, it was like a full-time job essentially to read that book, and that was about 3 weeks of reading.
It took me 6 months to read the whole thing for the podcast. It was something. I definitely liked it more than after when I first tried it, but god damn, that was a slog. It really was. As you can imagine, I got some very well-written hate mail throughout the entire process of that.
Hate mail with footnotes and
oh yeah, hate mail with footnotes and definitions.
Paragraphs.
Mm-hmm.
It's on our list to do. We might we're considering either we at some point we'll have to do it, I guess. Do we break it up into smaller pieces, or do we, we try to do that on our Patreon to do like a read along thing. So maybe we'll do that at some point, or we'll just suck it up and get a head start and read it all for 1 week. We don't know yet.
There you go. I mean, honestly, if you wanted to really infuriate David Foster Wallace fans, if you just kind of skimmed through it and did an episode, I think that would infuriate. Yeah, so this is basically what happened. I don't know.
I didn't read any of the footnotes.
Some French Canadian guys and shit.
Okay, so Kafka on the Shore. Are you guys big? Are you into Murakami? What is your actual like literary background? Like, do you would be a good question? The three of you each. What's your favorite book of all time?
Oh, geez, I'll let someone else go first.
I have no idea. I guess I don't quite have favorites. But none of us are English majors.
They're all your beautiful children. You just can't choose.
Well, that's not true. I can definitely choose. There are definitely plenty of books we've done on the podcast that I do not like. And many of our episodes are in fact making fun of shitty books that deserve it. So, though we have not done anyway. So none of us are English majors. In fact, between the three of us, we have 3 music degrees. So I guess that means I get one.
Averages out, yeah.
That is fair for you.
We just kind of read. We're readers. We just read books really for fun. And Mike and I would go get a beer after work and be like, "Hey, what are you reading right now?" And then turn it into a podcast. And that's kind of where we are.
Nice. Okay, Jimmy and Mike, favorite books.
I don't have a favorite myself. I'll say I have like a top 10, and Kafka on the Shore would be in the top 10.
Okay.
I like this book a lot. It's a fucking weird journey, and I don't think I get it, but I enjoy it.
For me, I also don't have like a single favorite book anymore. But there are certain things that stand out that like I guess for me the big test is would I ever want to read it a second time or a third time? And there aren't many books that I would want to like. There's so many other things I'll never have the chance to read. Why would I spend time on something again? But things that I've read multiple times, I really loved American Gods by Neil Gaiman. We read that for the podcast, and that was the second time I read that, and I loved it. And like I'm like due to read it again. Like that's certainly up there. I really dug like some stuff we did recently. I thought was really good. Like I really liked Where the Crawdads Sing. I mean, I'm not saying it's my favorite book ever, but like of the recent shit we've read in the last year or two, that was a fantastic book. So was The Overstory by Richard Powers.
That's a masterpiece.
Like so, and then like more classic
Stoner.
stuff. Stoner was awesome. What's that guy's name?
John Williams.
John Williams. Yeah.
Famous composer John Williams.
Yeah, it's orchestrated.
There's that music degree. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to have to look into all of those because, like I said, honestly, aside from my fiance, I really do not have anyone close to me who is way, way into books. I am kind of a man without a country, which speaking of...
Kurt Vonnegut. Yeah.
I was about to say, when you mentioned people I've reread over and over again, it's hilarious that I do it because Kurt Vonnegut was a famous atheist, but like there is something kind of spiritual to me about Kurt Vonnegut. Not in any like afterlife kind of way, but just in a like this is what God should be saying to me. Like it's all bullshit, but it's gonna be okay. And don't trust women, or I don't know. It is funny. All right.
I think God says that in the Old Testament. So
pretty much right away.
One of the other book series we're doing on this podcast is so far we have done 2 episodes of the Bible just on Genesis, and
Peter Gabriel was in it. I don't really like when he left. The Phil Collins years were not great.
The Phil Collins years are underrated. Okay, we don't need the Fox guy. Actually, all right. Before we get into it, just because being a musician myself, what's your musical background that you all have music degrees? Like, are you all music teachers, or were you trying to do something? Are you like Berkeley guys? Where are you from?
Mike and I are from New York. Nate is from the distant Shire.
I'm from the New Shire.
Oh, right.
An Underhill.
New Hampshire.
I went to Berkeley twice, but I don't work in music, much like people who went to Berkeley.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I am a big believer in Berkeley. I am a big prog dork, as my Dream Theater tattoo would say.
Oh, yeah.
Who all met there, of course.
We were discussing Dream Theater in our last episode.
Really? What about?
Not favorably.
Last episode we were recording, not in the.
Just saying how a lot of like if you take any pair of words from Hamlet, it sounds like a Dream Theater song. Like,
Okay.
like Suits of Woe. That's definitely got to be a prog metal song. Like,
Oh, that's from Count of Tuscany. Absolutely. Yeah.
They're just random phrases. Like this just sounds like a track list from my Spotify Discover Weekly prog list. Like I don't really know what this is.
Dude, I love prog so much in that, like, the reason I love Dream Theater amongst all the others is, like, when it comes to prog, there is a thin razor wire of cheesiness that, like, it needs to be just so, and if you fall one way or the other, it's like, I'm listening to Dungeons and Dragons. Why am I wasting my life? But if it hits just that right, like, you know, like, oh, it's about a future where music is outlawed. Like, I don't know, guys. Like, but wait, no. He's trying to find his killer in a past life. Like, I'm fucking in. Okay, very happy.
Where does Coheed and Cambria fall on that line for you?
I've never been able to get all the way in. I like the singles. I'm a chump. I like Welcome Home. I like Favorite House Atlantic.
I don't know any of their songs. I just know that they have a mythology. And I don't know if it was too cheesy or not cheesy enough or just the right amount.
They
of
have their
cheese.
own comic books. It's too cheesy.
It's Wisconsin level cheese.
Ooh,
It's not for the lactose intolerant.
I mean, is there anything more prog metal than like a 6'5" bushy-haired singer singing only in falsetto?
A Canadian
Anything that-
one.
Oh, yeah.
It's Rush
Mm. Okay. Well,
singing about Ayn Rand.
well, you know what? We've talked about her on this podcast quite a bit because as a white boy from the suburbs of lower class means, I was a big Ayn Rand fan from like 19 to 23, which is another way of saying that I was insufferable and no fun to be around.
Oh, well, that's the time to read. That's why I went through my Ayn Rand phase and read. That's about how long it takes to read Atlas Shrugged. So that's fine.
See, even being into it, I was really disappointed by Atlas Shrugged because I felt like, even now, I still think obviously I've grown past the selfishness aspect of it, but like Fountainhead, I almost feel like without the entire objectivist movement and Atlas Shrugged, Fountainhead would be remembered much better as like, oh, that was such a unique story with like very unique character motivations. But then when she tried to apply that philosophy to the planet, it just fucking crumbled. Like there's literally 100 pages in that book that is just repeating the premise of of everybody's character motivations. It's not well written.
When the man manages to take over the radios of the world and make them listen to his speech. We've not done Atlas Shrugged on the podcast. One day we will.
I hope I never have to.
But she's like one of those people who wrote the same book 6 times. She just kept like adding to it. It's like kind of like a George Lucas type approach to making something. It's like, I have a really good idea, but it needs more midgets, you know, like, and then.
You know what I've actually said before? If there are 2 biographies I've ever read that will make you lose complete respect for somebody, it's Strange Bedfellows, Ayn Rand, because you've come to find out that like she had this entire mythos, and then she used that philosophy to basically convince her followers to sleep with her and why that was okay. And then if you also
convince her husband it was okay.
And you convince her husband, like, honey, you know how I'm a philosopher.
Let's
Hear
be
me out.
objective about this.
But the other one, weirdly enough, Eric Clapton's autobiography. I have never disliked somebody so much.
Was that Don't Go Near That Window? What was the name of that book?
It said 57 floors is just high enough, I think, right? No, you know what he did a few times, because he was like an art school kid, and he explained that like a few times in his career he would like, let's just put it out under a different name and like let the music stand on its own, and every single time it sold nothing and he panicked and said, throw my name on it right away. And just like I love seeing idealists destroyed over and over again. Anyway, you guys ready to get into this book?
Absolutely.
As ready as ever.
Yeah.
All right, so like I said, we're just going to go through. Anytime you have interrupt to discuss anything, just do it.
We did, I think, luck out in terms of which chapters we got, because this is a real
this is
fucking
this is an awesome
meat
part.
of
Oh,
the
yeah.
book
awesome part of the
section.
book.
Oh, yeah. So
Spoiler.
I wasn't lying when I said we're starting right off with hand jobs. It's like middle school all over again. In
From
soccer,
your sister, maybe.
no
I don't know how they do
spoilers.
things in
I haven't read this yet.
Keystone State.
I thought our eyes looked similar. Okay. In Sakura's apartment, chapter 11, in Sakura's apartment, Kafka tells Sakura about running away from home and that his mother and sister left the family when he was just 4. Sakura tells Kafka that the only person he can rely on is himself. Before long, Sakura tells Kafka he can get into bed with her, but they can't have sex since she has a boyfriend in Tokyo. So, real quick, I don't want to paint myself as a player here, but I don't think there's ever been a situation where I've been invited in someone's bed and like, by the way, we can't have sex because of XYZ, and then something doesn't happen.
She's pulling the old internet boyfriend excuse
Yeah.
there, you know.
They don't have Canada in Japan. Too far.
Called Korea.
I have a boyfriend in Tengatsu province.
She does say, just think of us in brother and sister. And he's like, that does it for me. I don't care.
Yeah, that's
So
it's
just
like, I
Well,
I can work with that.
I
I'm
don't want to
15.
give too much away, but Oedipus is definitely one of the themes of this book.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's something with literature in general that I think they all like a little bit of incest. It just works its way into too many things.
Interestingly, the other pronunciation of Oedipus is what he was hoping to do, which is Oedipus, and he didn't get a chance to return the favor, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
It made him seem more selfish than he is.
So she starts to give him a hand job while asking him questions about his older sister, which of course just come immediately. Just the next morning, Kafka.
That's not normal?
No, that's not normal. It's like, yeah. So tell me, how's your mother?
It's very pragmatic.
Hold on. So really, like right after, I'm trying to find the quote here. Give me a second. Right after he finishes, she says immediately, "Oh, wouldn't it be nice if I was your sister?" It's just like it's literally the next line, like right there. Like, what? This
Like-
is what? Not.
Well,
the
now
first
it would
time in
be.
this book.
This is a great example of order of operations being important, because she said that right before he came, it would be very different.
I was gonna say it's so out there that I have to like. Is this foreshadowing or is she just a freak? Because that's like a little on the nose either way.
Everyone
Oh,
in
wait,
this
Maybe
book
she
is a
had a
freak.
little on her nose.
He does have that strong, 15-year-old spurt going, probably.
Oh, dude, 15 years old, I could hit the fucking ceiling fan. Those are better
Could
times.
spackle with it. You could just.
It's okay.
It-
The
it
full
is a-
quote.
it's
Sorry,
a
this is
little
just too
heavy-handed
good.
there, yeah. No pun intended for
So,
once.
do you feel better? Definitely. I'm glad. I was just thinking how nice it'd be if I was your real sister. Yeah. And right away, I was like, oh, I gotta highlight that.
Maybe this is from the
Gotta
Alabama
annotate
section
that.
of Japan.
Forget which which part of Japan that is exactly. Is it Okinawa? Is that what it is?
It's the part that will rise again. That's the part of this. I was complaining about this in the last episode.
Rising
It's just
sun
like
again.
I feel like any like actual runaway must be like, oh yeah, that's what happens. You run away from home and people let you live in their library and a nice girl gives you a hand job. Like anybody
is-
who's
Almost that, except it's usually a much older man, and you don't get to be let. They don't let you live in their garage. You have to live there. You could think of it as being let live there,
That
but
makes it easier.
yeah, you don't have a choice.
All right, so the next morning, Kafka wakes to find that Sakura has gone to work, leaving him alone. He's not sure what to do next. He feels as if he is being pulled by destiny to the Komura Memorial Library. That's, of course, after a night of feeling himself pulled in a very different way. He actually leaves her a very nice note where he's even like, I did the dishes, I cleaned up, I really enjoyed that. Thanks.
Would you say that he?
Oh boy.
This is how we normally make our segues for beer. So for us, it makes sense, but for other people, it might not. But I'd say that he got a little gushy.
That's a good one. Is that the only beer we have pulled here? I don't have any.
We
Oh,
each
no.
have one or
Definitely
so.
not.
Yeah. But I got this for later in the book, in this section, but I think it fit pretty well here. So this is a little gushy from Decadent Ales, and it's an India Pale Ale with orange puree, which maybe it means it's chunky. I don't know.
Okay. I mean, the closest I have Dead Guy Ale. That could maybe be the
Oh, there's a
Johnnie
Dead Guy.
Walker.
Yeah.
There's a couple there.
That's
coming
gonna
up.
work. That's gonna
It's-
work. Yeah.
I should have got Johnnie Walker, but I was lazy and poor.
We have done Dead Guy Ale on multiple books on the
fits
podcast.
in a lot.
So good choice.
Yeah, it's pretty. You got a good Venn diagram with that one. You're going to be hard pressed to find a book where there is not a dead man at some point or another. Okay.
How is it, Jimmy? Is it any good?
It's pretty good. It tastes orangey. It's kind of like 80-20 orange juice and beer.
It's like a beer mosa.
Like
not
a
a
beer.
bad
It
ratio.
is kind of a beer mosa. Yeah. It's a little bitter, but that's fine. It's like oranges. I'll give them to them.
I personally find beer cocktails are very underrated. Like, I don't know. In Philly, do you guys have citywides in your bars?
No idea.
I don't think so.
Okay, that's a Philly thing. In Philly, a citywide is pretty much like just the cheapest beer on the shelf, usually like a PBR pounder, and a shot of whiskey. Which,
yeah, we call those Boilermakers.
well, but that's the thing. I make a classic Boilermaker in that I dump the shot right into the beer because I don't like shots. I think that's like a classic Boilermaker. Whereas here, it's you do the one and then the other. But I love
okay.
beer cocktails like that. I first saw that in the original Bad News Bears when Walter Matthau was doing that, like before hopping in the car, just putting a little bit of his flask into like a Mickey's Big Mouth.
It's the good old days of drinking and driving and coaching Little League, which is still pretty common, I think.
Oh yeah, dude. Have you seen that movie lately? There's little kids yelling the N-word, and that's like the movie. I think there was baseball in there somewhere, but
Yeah,
And one kid rides the motorcycle, right?
the one kid rides a motorcycle and then he crashes,
Rorschach.
and then well, I was gonna say becomes the new Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And Rorschach.
Yeah, I see how you pulled the interesting move there of making the reference people actually remember. It's basic, but that works out.
I don't know if anyone. I mean, I saw the new Elm Street, but I don't know if anyone else did. Maybe you.
Yeah, I don't.
It was fine.
I know the reference. I didn't see it. I do not trust remakes. if I can help
It wasn't bad. It's just it's hard to make a movie where you want to be like, yeah, that's a cool child molester. Oh Jesus.
I mean,
And it's
Michael Jackson did pretty well for himself. So
Oh yeah. He's
I
really the only
wouldn't
one to pull it off.
The new Nightmare on Elm Street wasn't quite a thriller, but it was it was extremely clear. Like I feel like maybe I'm misremembering, but I feel like in the original Elm Street, it wasn't.
Oh, he fucked those kids.
He fucked him, but like in this one, they find like a pile of Polaroids and like, oh shit, he fucked those kids.
Yeah.
Like, there's no ambiguity, and they're like, oh, and like the kids find it, like, oh my god, it's all true. That's why I feel this way when it rains now. Like it's
Oh,
really
God.
hard. I don't know.
It
if
was
that
pretty
lines in the
dark.
movie.
It was basically like the old ones were kind of like almost goofy, but the new one was just like, no, he fucks kids and murders them. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
nice.
doesn't work quite as well with a Dokken song when they're like right up front with that. All right. Chapter 12. The teacher Tetsuko from the Rice Bowl Hill incident writes a letter to the investigator 30 years later, revealing things she had hid. The night before the incident, she had a vivid dream about having sex with her husband, who was away at war at the time. Even after waking, she felt as if she were still in the middle of that realistic, erotic dream. Just as Setsuko reached the top of the hill with the children, she realized that her period had started. Setsuko cleaned herself up in the woods with some towels and returned to supervise the children, feeling guilty for allowing her mind to linger to the erotic dream in front of her students.
And for
And
attracting bears.
Sincerely. Are there bears in Japan? A panda.
They have bears.
It's China.
I thought they had. Was I just accidentally racist there? Pandas all look alike.
It's
to
just
me.
the
It didn't-
national animal of China, but
I thought they had them in Japan too. Okay, I guess they have.
absolutely. I mean, they have in the zoo. I
yeah, they have them in the
suppose.
zoo. Technically,
the-
China owns all pandas. They just rent them out, like panda horse.
Didn't they have a thing recently
Panda pimps.
where in China they tried to pass off a Rottweiler as a wolf in a zoo somewhere?
I believe it.
But she mentions here like, oh, she feels like maybe she got her period because she got like jostled around by the sex dream, which like I'm not a woman, but like I don't think that's how that works.
I think it does.
It does.
Yeah, I'm like 70-30, but I'm pretty sure that's how science works.
Okay. Ghost sex leads to periods. Got it.
Yeah.
I will
Oh, ghost sex, absolutely. You ever seen the
Ghost
deleted
sex.
scenes from the DVD of Ghost? Disturbing.
When they,
Oh God, he's like, oh God, I just finished. What's happening? Whoopi, what did you do to me last night?
they do have bears in Japan though. That's what Akitas.
Just had to check.
You just
No,
had to
no.
check.
Akita's. Oh, the dog.
I
Yeah.
studied Japanese, gentlemen. Akitas,
Oh.
the dog, were bred to fight bears. Like that's what that dog is like.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
They don't look like they could fight a bear. They look soft as fuck.
I mean, they're fighting Japanese bears. Maybe those bears get distracted by like panties and vending machines. I don't know if they are quite as ferocious as a grizzly, but they are. There are definitely types of bears there.
So she definitely endangered all these children.
And
Oh,
she
yeah.
was endangering
Well,
them by
they
like,
were
let's go
also-
eat wild mushrooms.
Wild mushrooms. They're picking wild mushrooms. Even experts sometimes mistake the poisonous wild mushrooms for the not poisonous ones.
Isn't that how
like,
Into the Wild ended? I think
It was berries.
berries. Oh.
Yeah. He mistook Chuck Berry for a wrong kind.
Those were Johnny be not good at all. For eating.
Okay. One of the children, Nakata, who we'll obviously meet, approached Setsuko with something in his hands. One of the bloody towels Setsuko had used to clean herself up. Fucking gross.
You dropped something.
Sensei, I believe you. Horrified, Setsuko began to beat Nakata while the other children watched as if frozen in place, which really does kind of attract attention to the whole thing. But Setsuko begins to weep and apologize, but then the children collapsed. Later, none of them seemed to remember anything about the incident, which I can only assume means very toxic menstrual ghost blood in there. Setsuko.
So it's just a fucking miracle. None of the kids remember that.
Yeah, that's
I'm keeping my job.
Gonna get so many letters.
I mean, I just read it and it's sticking with me. Setsuko writes that she never found out what happened to Nakata after the incident. Previously, he'd been a bright, if quiet child. Setsuko had hoped to draw him out of his shell, but after the incident, he was hospitalized and that was no longer possible. She closes her letter with a note that when her husband died shortly afterwards, she felt no shock at all. Ever since that day in the woods, it felt to Setsuko as if her husband's death was fated to be.
fate, definitely a theme of the book.
Yes, everybody feels fated and pulled in certain ways, and they're dropping bodily fluids at the least convenient and expected time.
It's a normal Murakami book, yeah.
Again, this is my first of any Murakami book, so
This is one of his weirdest by far.
hell yeah. Okay, none of these are tropes for me yet. Will that be a little bit like who was the other author we just mentioned who used the same thing over and over again?
Ayn Rand.
Ayn Rand. Yeah.
His are more like everything is so bizarre that it just like doesn't even make sense, but you still go with it.
Yeah, no,
Struggle to hold on.
I'm very much enjoying so far. I mean, even like the cats, the cats are pretty cool characters in this book, even if they're talking to a strange, simple man.
Yeah.
Okay. Chapter 13. Kafka reveals that he has nowhere to stay and asks Oshima for help. Surprisingly, Oshima has a solution. Kafka can live in the library. In the meantime, Oshima will take Kafka somewhere he can stay for the night. Kafka is surprised but grateful. On the drive, Oshima tells Kafka that he has hemophilia. Normally, he's cautious, but he drives at reckless speeds because he would prefer to die instantly in a crash than slowly bleed to death. As the Miata speeds down increasingly dangerous mountain roads, Kafka decides not to worry about a fatal crash because Oshima has made it clear that he has no intention of dying. Kafka and Oshima arrive at a small log cabin deep in the forest. The cabin is sparse without electricity or running water. Outside is a dense forest, and Oshima warns Kafka that he will almost certainly get lost if he ventures into the trees. So I thought this was actually going to be more sinister when I first read this, because like how often is it, oh yeah, I got a place you can stay. Let's go drive for 4 hours and leave you in the middle
Let me
of the
take
woods.
this teenager to a cabin in the middle of the woods, in the middle of nowhere. How often does that turn out well?
Yeah, Kafka is really getting like the VIP runaway experience right now. Maybe Japan's just better. I
No.
mean, no?
Definitely not.
Taking the bullet train to Fucktown is what.
Well, the last time he ended up at a stranger's house, he got a hand job. So he's like, hey,
How bad could it
what's
be?
the worst that could happen?
Let it ride.
This
Can
guy could
only
let
go
me
up
live in
from
his
here.
garage.
Okay. Chapter 30. Oh, God, you were going to say?
Oh no, it just there's a lot of maybe I don't remember what happens from chapters 21 to the end. But it's 2 chapters in a row where they talk about blood a lot. Like that can't be a coincidence, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah, we will have
lady,
more blood before this is over.
well, yeah, totally. It's like lady blood in the woods, blood in the car. That might be from. I don't want to ruin anything. Maybe
Also, in the
that's-
section before this, he woke up covered in blood.
Yeah.
Right, which we kind of like forget about randomly. There's a thing with blood and forgetting things instantly. But much like his mother and his sister, their blood, they forgot all about him until one came to jerk him off, maybe possibly.
Oh, definitely.
blood
did
is
that.
the best lubricant. So that's just science.
Mm.
I've been told that by Nate.
I believe that it was his favorite. I don't know if it was the best.
The man loves the taste of copper. What can we say? All right.
Most readily available.
Yeah, it's all you need to do is just put an extra hole and it comes right on out. Nakata meets a black and white cat, Akawa, who warns him that Goma is mixed up in some dangerous business that he'd rather not talk about. That evening, a huge, fierce-looking black dog lumbers into the empty lot. He seems to be beckoning Nakata to follow, and he does. The dog leads Nakata into the living room of a large stone house. Seated on a swivel chair inside is a mysterious man in a long red coat, black vest, white trousers, and tall black boots. He takes a sip of whiskey and introduces himself as Johnnie Walker. Johnnie Walker reveals that he has Goma and that he will give Nakata an opportunity to get her back. But first, they will play a game. Nakata stays silent. So I wish I'd actually looked this up because I had trouble picturing what that outfit looks like. But since this is the internet and everything is everywhere, here, let me see if I can.
Oh, the Johnny Walker look.
Yeah, I want to see how he's dressed.
Like an old timey guy who rides a horse in 1800s movies.
I mean,
Yeah, he's wearing like
everything I'm seeing here, he looks like a circus like ringleader.
I mean, there's
Lion
definitely
tamer?
that. He looks like a cross between like the Monopoly Man and Mr. Peanut and a jockey. If you just like look up the Johnny Walker label, you'll see like the traditional, like the current one. He's like I think a black and white. I mean, I'm not a Johnny Walker drinker, but if you find the old school one, you'll see. Yeah, like there he is on the blue label. You can see.
Okay,
yeah.
I see. You got kind of a dandy
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
one for it.
guy. Let's see.
There you
There
go.
he is. Okay. So that stands to reason. I just imagine that time marches on, and this man is going to find some cats to behead to build a flute, no less.
That's
Yeah,
why I don't
that-
drink Johnny Walker anymore.
You don't support turning cat souls into flutes. I mean,
I mean, the music degree I had tells me that that's not the best way to make one.
How they do it in Japan, maybe.
That's a shakuhachi. That's different.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Our stupid meeting is about to run up, so let's bounce off and jump on to the next link, which will be more than enough to get this wrapped up. Sounds good?
Sounds
Cool.
good.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Wait a sec. Okay, and we're back, which I shouldn't say because to you, we never went anywhere. I just burped. Don't mind me. Chapter 15. Oshima leaves Kafka alone in the dark woods to return in a few days. Kafka can't shake the feeling that he's being watched. In his head, Crow mocks him for being afraid of something so harmless as the dark. He drifts off to sleep. So I think this is the first time it is specifically it's very much implied that Crow is something internal with Kafka, but this is the first time it's like Crow says in his head. I obviously am not trying to spoil myself, but what did you guys think Crow was at this point? Did you have any big guesses initially upon reading?
I suspected from the beginning that it was in his head,
Mm-hmm.
that he was imagining it, because it was just fucking weird. Like a boy named Crow, and he's talking to that, and then there's no other, like, if this was like a book where like with talking animals and like a young adult fantasy world, that would make sense. But in what seemed to be from the beginning a very sort of modern, real Japan, that seemed strange. So by this point, a whole bunch of other weird shit had happened. So like, yeah, that's probably real. Not real either. But I didn't understand anything else, so I could be I could have been way off.
Very possible. Like I said, I unfortunately I have had postmodern literature disappoint me so much that like I'm loving this book so far, but I'm fully prepared for it to. One of the things that postmoderns have is I feel it fails spectacularly at sticking the landing a lot of times.
Mm.
And so I'm still reserving the right to hate everything about this book if it just ends badly. The Game of Thrones theory, if we're talking about a TV show thing.
Fair.
Well, it's going to
Game of what?
continue to stay weird.
I'm fine with
The
I'm
book.
fine.
It's definitely going to continue.
Okay.
So this part of the book is when it gets very, very strange. And in fact, would you call it stranger than chocolate and coconut?
I
Not
wouldn't.
that
That sounds
strange.
pretty unstrange. Yeah.
Oh, is that the beer you were drinking there?
Yes, this is called Stranger Than Chocolate and Coconut by Collective Arts. This is a. Hold on, I had it here. Where's it? No.
Oh,
This is a porter with natural flavors. Those flavors being chocolate and coconut.
Do you guys get any kind of does anybody send you these to talk about, or do you just buy all of these? Just like whatever's available for you.
We wish they sent them.
I was gonna say that'd be such a great setup.
It would.
We
We've
have
Occasional ones that they gave us stuff.
Yeah, occasionally been to some brewery. We've recorded several episodes at breweries, and they have been kind enough to give us some or a lot of the beers for free.
Nice. Have you done like live? I mean, obviously you're saying you recorded at a brewery, but have you like live audience in attendance?
No.
Live audience being one of the guys at the brewery.
Yeah,
that counts.
The guy who pushing around a pile of hops and and a barrel. No, we tend to edit the episodes partially because for like release, and then also to cut out things we don't want the real world to hear us say.
Very, very important thing to have.
So be judicious when you edit this one.
Anything, I will take out anything you ever want, or I can do the other thing is if anything bad you say, I will dub in myself saying something far worse to take the heat off of you.
Let's just preempt, especially for Nate. That's important that you do. Because people who listen to our podcast know Nate is the extremely patient person on our podcast who deals with me and Jimmy saying fucking ridiculous garbage, and like getting into like competitions where we try to see how many puns we can make with cheese or like just
We haven't
stupid
named
shit.
all the Spice Girls in like 2 years.
We haven't. Yeah, it's we're due. It's a bit chauvinist for us not to get into some girl power here, but
It's scary
Nate-
how long
Nate-
it's been.
I'm curious. What is the gimmick with naming all the Spice Girls?
it
Well,
comes from
We're making baby steps and we've done a few of them right now.
so basically it started probably with drinking a
Started
beer.
gingerly.
Yeah, it had a beer that had ginger flavor, and then made some sort of stupid Spice Girl pun, and then we just tried to find the way to get the other 4 Spice Girls in there.
We were sporty about it.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, not to be too posh or anything.
That's all.
precisely. That's it.
Nice.
Bazinga.
I feel like I'm involved. Okay.
And that's when 4 become 1. But then
It's a very different DVD.
it's a it's like a human centipede of dick and balls. But Nate is usually the one that keeps us on track with actually talking about the book, whereas Jimmy and I will get into the ridiculous tangents about stuff and
And then I
and
cut most of it out later.
yeah, it gets it's usually pretty dumb.
Oh god, that is the worst when you just like, oh my god, that was so fun, that was so good, and then you listen back to it like, oh, I'm gonna lose my job. But that's not fun. Okay. Kafka settles down with a book about Adolf Eichmann. Speaking of canceling, let's get into some Nazis.
Some light reading.
Oshima has scribbled some margin notes. Our responsibility begins with the power to imagine. Thinking about his bloodstained shirt, the word resonates with Kafka. He worries that he will be held responsible for the contents of his dreams, even if he has no control over them, which I know they explained it a little bit, but it is still a little bit like, oh man, I'd hate to get in trouble for something I didn't even intend to do, just like Adolf Eichmann.
It's a bit of a leap.
Well, this is Japan.
Oh yeah, true. They were, but I remember as an old fan of Mystery Science Theater, there was one random Japanese movie they were doing, and in like a scene where a giant monster was destroying a bunch of buildings, all of a sudden, no explanation, there's just a skyscraper with a 50-floor portrait of Adolf Hitler on the side exploding, just never addressed.
It's
Well,
a
maybe,
metaphor.
yeah, maybe in the book, his dreams, and maybe he was just following orders. It's not.
Yeah.
His dreams told him what to do. It's not his fault.
I know.
Just organized.
not a good
made
defense.
Spreadsheets.
Mhm. I've heard that is actually an issue in China where like I had a friend who went over there for some comedy shows and he explained that like yeah, they don't understand why Hitler is bad. Just like, well, yeah, no, he was like sure he fucked up a little bit. And the way he pointed out is like, well, keep in mind they still kind of very much look up to Mao over there, and Mao killed like 50 million of his own people on a whoopsie. So like they have a very different litmus for things over there.
It's not Mao's fault they didn't know how to make good iron in the furnaces in their backyards.
Exactly. You should be able to take any farmer off the street and tell them to smelt in their backyard. And if they don't figure it out, they're clearly capitalist pigs that need to be, used as fertilizer for the revolution to come.
But
I
no
mean,
one's gonna be able
China
to
is
use
not
the
a free
fertilizer.
country, and so just because people are not allowed to say out loud Mao was a bad guy doesn't mean that they wouldn't think it or wouldn't say it if they could.
True. True. Very true.
Growing
Damn you
up
and
here,
your
as
reasonable
usual.
opinions, Nate.
Despite Oshima's warning, Kafka decides to venture into the woods. Almost immediately, he becomes disoriented and is chilled by the thought that he won't be able to find the cabin again. He manages to escape, but feels lucky. He falls asleep wishing Sakura were his real sister.
Yeah, I'm really
He's
not.
lonely.
I'm trying to figure out the motivation there.
I mean, there's a tenderness. I guess I don't know. It can be all right. As somebody who in my younger years hooked up with some like older ladies, there is like a weird motherly approach that can fall in and like okay, I'll throw this out there. So again, having never met you guys before, I worked for a porn company for a little bit of time. It's okay, we didn't produce any of it, but I would write these articles for our website. We were like a streaming service, so we were trying to bring traffic
You're
on.
in it just for the articles.
I was literally in it just for the articles.
You're the one person that was
Yep. But
in the
literally for the articles. But another thing that happened while I was at this job is Ron Jeremy was our spokesman. So one time Ron Jeremy came into town and I had to be his personal
I
chaperone.
think it's Pokesman, but go on.
And long story short, weirdest night of my life, I somehow end up backstage at a Guar show with Ron Jeremy. And
man.
yeah.
Probably not the weirdest thing to happen backstage at a Gwar show.
Probably not. No.
Mike and I are big Guar fans.
Yeah, Gwar
Yeah.
is.
It was.
I haven't washed all the blue paint off my body still. Years.
That was the first time I ever saw them too, and it could not have been more. It couldn't have been more surreal. Fucking. Oh, Ron Jeremy's here. Let's feed him to the worm. Okay.
Oh yeah. Well, you got to.
Oh, but the porn thing I was mentioning, I wrote an article all about the muscle woman fetish because we would get a lot of movies in where it was just like these strong, like jacked ladies, and they just be like squeezing dudes' heads and shit. And as part of this article, I did like a lot of research, and I was talking to people who were into it, just like, what's the appeal? What's going on? And you know what I found? To a man, every single person that loved these strong women, they all mentioned having older sisters who used to beat them up when they were little.
It makes sense, but I don't know if it makes it better.
Oh no, it doesn't make it makes it filthier. And you know what filthier makes it? Sexier. So that's how that works. Anyway, nice to meet you guys. I'm glad. I'm sure you're very much like, yeah, we made a great decision coming on this fucking thing.
I want to know more later about Ron Jeremy's opinions on Gwar.
He seemed to enjoy them. Honestly, that night it was just fascinating watching over and over again people being like, oh my God, it's Ron Jeremy. And then like wanting to be nowhere near him immediately after, which is why he's locked up for sexual assault now. I can tell you for a fact. Yes, he is 100% guilty.
Yeah, I don't think anyone was surprised by that.
No. Okay. On the second day, Kafka repeats the same routine, this time venturing slightly deeper into the forest. His feeling of helplessness has melted away, and he makes his way easily back to the cabin. In the afternoon, he washes himself in a rainstorm, which leaves him feeling purified and calm. Yet in his mind, Crow warns him that the calm won't last long. Inevitably, says Crow, Kafka will dream about raping his mother or sister. He worries about the consequences of his dream and imagination and thinks that, ultimately, those are things that he cannot control. So, things we cannot control: the Holocaust, raping your mother or sister, and dreams. So,
Children in the forest.
children in the forest.
That's the teacher struggled with that too, apparently.
I mean, hey, if you can't control it, live and let live. Say la vie. Don't worry too much about it. You know.
Yeah, this book, I don't want to spoil anything afterwards, but I don't get this book. This is now the second time skimming through it, frankly, but I don't know what the fuck what is happening here. And I think Murakami said basically as much when he's like, there's lots of clues and you'll need to solve this riddle.
And he doesn't know either.
Yeah.
Oh, so
When
he
you
has
find out, tell me.
so he is kind of like the David Lynch thing of like, I'm not gonna tell you the interpretations because they don't like it's whatever it means to you, that kind of thing.
So it's a very postmodern approach to storytelling. You know.
Okay, let's get right to the cats. If anybody has like cat's head beer or whatever.
Well, that's what I got a little gushy for, but yeah, it worked earlier.
I don't have any.
I looked, but I couldn't find it.
We've had plenty of. We actually did an episode on the poems that became the movie / musical Cats.
Oh god.
So we've been through plenty of.
It's the worst thing I
of
ever
cat
read.
series.
I had an ex who was very convinced that T.S. Eliot was like a proto furry, and that was his entire inspiration.
I believe it.
I see no evidence to doubt.
Makes
that
more
theory.
sense than cats.
I still liked it, man. Except for like the racist cats. That was like, ooh.
There were a lot of racist cats. But, cats might be racist. We just can't hear their thoughts, so.
Yeah, if only Nakata had asked the right questions. Have you seen Goma? Like, oh, she's one of those dirty ones. All right. Speaking of Goma, Nakata opens a large fridge to find that it's full of frozen, severed cat's heads. We've all been there. Luckily, Goma is not among them. Johnny Walker reveals that he kills cats in order to collect their souls, which he is using to make a special flute that will allow him to collect even larger souls, which allowed him to build a larger flute, and so on. Nakata is confused because he's a simple man and can't follow, simple things like this.
Wait, let me read the quote of that exact thing where he says why he's killing the cats, because it's amazing. Sorry. I'm killing them to collect their souls, which I use to create a special kind of flute. And when I blow that flute, it'll let me collect even larger souls. Then I collect perhaps larger souls and make an even bigger flute. Perhaps in the end, I'll be able to make a flute so large it'll rival the universe. But first come the cats. That is epic.
This is the uncensored first draft of like Super Mario 3 with like the world-changing flutes that they blow in there. Just for me, that's okay. I'm fine.
It could be. That makes sense.
Got a underwear gnome theme from it. Remember that South Park where the underwear, like first underwear, something, then profit. And it's like, this is going to scale very quickly. And everyone's like, how? Just let it happen, man.
I did read that there's a very weird connection here with this and Super Mario. In the library when he's reading those books by Soseki, who is a real author. I don't know. He does a bunch of like weird experimental books that people are kind of mixed feelings on. But one of his famous books is called I Am a Cat.
Yeah, it's a weird ass book.
It's a book about a cat, like being a cat, and he don't know what the story is, but the cat, since Japanese has all these incredible, intricate levels of formality in its language, depending on who's speaking. The formal level that the cat uses is a strange, old, archaic form of like when he says "I." It's like Wagoichi or something like that. That no one uses anymore. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. So the cat uses that, and very few people these days use it. Almost no one, except a few like literary characters and Bowser.
Oh. Ooh, okay. So Bowser is like the Conqueror was using this extremely like highfalutin reference to himself.
Yeah.
And it just also. Well, that's very interesting to know.
I don't remember why I read that. I was looking up stuff about I Am a Cat because I wanted to know, is this something I should read? I don't think it is, but maybe one day.
Well, that's in Japan, like there are this horrifically difficult levels for an outsider to grasp the levels of honorific
that's the word, yeah.
language. and the emperor. Basically there's like a level ranging from like how you would order a cockroach out of your presence all the way up to like how you would speak to God if he presented himself to you.
Stopped
Like,
on by.
and there's like 40 levels in between there. And the emperor speaks in this extremely formal way that when the emperor at the end of World War II announced over the radio, like, we have lost.
The war has not gone as planned.
Yeah.
But what was said.
But the average person could not understand a lot of what he was saying because it was such formal. I mean, it's essentially, I guess the closest example I can think of is like if someone came out to make a speech, a president or governor, whoever, and they spoke in a Shakespearean soliloquy. And you're like, what the fuck? I get a few words. What does this mean? And that cat in I Am a Cat talks like that, which is perfect for a cat, by the way, because cats are
assholes.
dicks and think they're better than you. And so it's I like that that's a universal thing. Like, you know, in the States, we have that impression of cats. And in Japan, a century and a quarter ago, they also like cats are snobby.
Wow. Things never change. Wow. So speaking of cats who are about to be humbled, Johnnie Walker reveals that Goma is among the next bunch of cats he has captured and plans to kill. He will return her to Nakata if he performs the tasks in exchange. Nakata must kill Johnnie Walker. Johnnie is tired of living, and taking his own life isn't an option, which I'm hoping comes up again because they definitely hint it so. Whistling cheerfully, Johnnie Walker pulls out a live but paralyzed gray cat, cuts it open with a scalpel, removes its still beating heart, pops it in his mouth, and then uses the saw to cut off the cat's head. Johnnie Walker dispatches a second cat in the same manner, still whistling cheerfully. Nakata feels a horrible confusion rising up within him, transforming his being and blurring his vision. Johnnie pulls a third cat from the bag, Kawamura, who we've met previously. Before Nakata can act, Johnnie cuts the cat open. Nakata begs him to stop, but he continues, pulling Mimi out of the bag. Nakata picks up a steak knife and plunges it into Johnnie Walker's stomach. Johnnie laughs and coughs up blood before collapsing on the floor dead. Nakata scoops up Mimi and Goma, who was in the bag, and tries to leave but can't stand up. He collapses on the sofa and loses consciousness. So that's a hell of a scene. I really hope somebody there's no film version of this anywhere, is there?
You have to go on the dark web, and then you could find a lot of film versions.
There's stuff like this.
In this particular scene, so I really liked this scene for a specific reason, not the killing cats part. But it's because in such a weird book, one of the dangers of such a book that's just so strange and so bizarre is that like anything could happen, and therefore there are no stakes. Like there's no like tension. It could be written that way when something is just so bizarre. But this book, even though it's so weird, it really didn't feel that way to me, at least. I don't know about you guys. In this particular scene, when Johnnie Walker says, "I need you to kill me," which doesn't make any sense at all. And then he's like, and then he tells Nakata, "I need you to kill me. I'm just going to keep killing these cats until you kill me." It's so weird, but it's like so intense. And you can feel like Nakata being like, "Oh my God, do I do this?" As he's literally watching Johnnie Walker cut the cats open, eat their hearts, and then saw their heads off. It's like, oh my God. And then he finally does it. And it's like, holy shit. Anyway, and this is only one chapter, but this is also the chapter of the book that went from, yeah, this is definitely weird too. What the fuck is this?
So I really appreciate one of the other books we did on here was Crying of Lot 49 by Pynchon, where it gets into a lot of like surrealism and like kind of dreaminess. And I really appreciate that this book is like dabbling in the surreal, but all of it feels very real. Like there's no part of me that's like, oh, is Nakata hallucinate? No, this is a guy who is cutting out hearts and chewing on them, and I can picture it clear as day.
Yeah. It's a very much like a magical realism thing. It's like, look, take it or leave it. This is what's happening. It's weird, doesn't make sense, and I'm never going to explain it, but this is what's going on.
Well, it's sort of like this doesn't exist and this world doesn't obey the same rules as the regular world. So, you know, that's like what you mean by magical realism, right? Like,
yeah,
these are the rules of this book, and you're like, all right, I guess I'm fucking talking cats and shit. And Colonel Sanders later on. Like, all right, whatever.
Oh yeah,
Colonel Sanders shows up.
Whoops.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Spoiler.
All right. Well, let's.
Japanese Colonel Sanders.
Oh.
Except it is the Colonel. It's also the Colonel Sanders you're thinking of.
Oh wait,
It's
wait. Does he
actually him?
does he show up on Christmas? Because I know in Japan he is like a major Christmas figure in Japan.
I no, not on
He is
Christmas.
a-
I didn't.
They.
That's weird.
I have heard that like the Christmas Day meal in Japan is ordering Kentucky Fried Chicken. I have heard that, but and
You
you
have to order
re-
weeks in advance.
got to reserve it weeks in advance to get it. Yeah, that is not what happens in the book.
Jesus
Colonel
wanted you to have a
Sanders-
double down.
Does appear, and he may or may not be a pimp. I'm just saying, just throwing that out there.
Which is
Gosh, you
true
have me
also
so
for
excited.
the real Colonel Sanders may or may not have been a pimp.
He
I mean,
wore all white.
he dressed
Yeah.
like he was going to the players' ball, and he had like a that fine Van Dyke thing.
Mhm.
That
That weird little
no
tie.
chicken chef has facial hair like that.
Bitches and spices. All right. Chapter 17. By his third night in the cabin, Kafka feels a sense of peace and awe at nature. On the fourth day, Oshima returns while Kafka is napping naked on the porch of the cabin, which I just have to say, he really makes it seem like I've never had any intention of running around naked on an isolated farm, but he makes it sound like the coolest thing in the world.
Well, they
Just
do
running
mention
in-
his light-colored, healthy, youthful penis several times.
Yes, exactly. So
He's got to
that
get
is
some color on it. That's why he's running around naked. It's
Yeah,
very
got to
pale.
tan it a little.
a sun-kissed penis, which
Uh,
sounds like it should be a
sister
beer.
kissed.
Sister kissed.
He could hope.
Kafka tells Oshima he had a wonderful time, omitting his feelings of helplessness and wandering in the woods. On the drive back, Oshima observes that Kafka seems to be both seeking something and running away. He predicts that whatever Kafka seeks will not come in the form he expects. So a little bit like the Odyssey there. For the rest of the drive, Oshima tells Kafka the story of Miss Saiki's troubled past. As a child, she fell in love with the oldest son of the Kimura family. They were inseparable, like one body and spirit, or like two halves of one whole in the ancient myth Oshima told Kafka of earlier. When the young man went to university in distant Tokyo, it felt as if he had been split apart with a knife. While her boyfriend was at university, Miss Saiki wrote a hauntingly beautiful song about her love for him. She recorded it, and it became a huge hit. The strange thing, says Oshima, is that the song is called Kafka on the Shore. Just as the song was becoming popular, Miss Saiki's boyfriend was killed accidentally during a student protest. Miss Saiki never sang again and soon disappeared. 20 years later, she returned to Takamatsu and took over the Komura Memorial Library, where her boyfriend had lived when they were both teenagers. Kafka will take over the room where Miss Saiki's boyfriend used to live. So I went and looked up, and yeah, in the 60s, they had it's parallel but very, very different. The same way we had like the student protests, which were in against the draft in the Vietnam War. They had something called, I think it was like Zendikayo, that was this whole college uprising through Japan that like happened very organically, where it was like a big communist thing where they were trying to fight like American oppression and trying to tear down the schools they were enrolled in. And that's what happened to Miss Saiki's boyfriend, is they think he's with the other people and they just kind of bludgeon him to death. And apparently shit like that did actually happen. So that was an interesting little I love when we have like nonsensical parallels between culture. Like there's no real way this should have happened, but it just happened to be in common.
This has been like 1968, the year that like everybody went bananas across everywhere. Is that when
Yeah.
this was? I don't know this Japanese. I don't know this event.
Yeah, it was a weird. I heard about it and I forget what they were rioting about. There was a bunch of shit, but basically, it's something about how they basically felt like they had no control over their own country because of whether it was they didn't. But it was also just between the Americans, and also they felt like the Japanese people in charge were not on their side, which they probably weren't either. But it was a weirdly complex thing. I think it involves knowing a lot about Japanese culture and history to even begin to understand it. But there were these huge fucking riots, and it was almost like a street war for a long time, and a bunch of people died. Like students would like barricade themselves in dorms and like get into fights with cops and burn shit down.
Yeah, I wonder how long that might have persisted in like the memory of Japanese culture. Because I remember when I first saw the film Battle Royale, famously stolen and Americanized as the Hunger Games, much more famously, where like the movie begins with like, you know, the students were protesting and like, because the entire premise of that film is like the government decides like we got to keep these kids in check, let's make them kill each other. And it seems pretty far-fetched, but then hearing something like that, if they had this this mass uprising of students where if instead of like, you know, burning their draft cards and making killer classic rock music, they were actively killing each other in the streets, you might be a little less forgiving of them, you know?
Yeah. It's also a thing in Japanese culture where, like, you know, there's an intense level that we don't have here of, you know, listening to your elders and sense of like your place in society. And there's much more of a collectivist thing than we have. So for them, like,
to rebel against that.
Yeah, that's like, what the fuck is wrong with these kids? Better let them kill each other.
All right. Gonna steamroll ahead. We still have 3 chapters to get through, and I know we're running out of time, and I'm not gonna put you guys through that again. So, chapter 18.
Well,
Nakata
something that
awakens at
Haruki
night in a clump
Murakami
of
definitely
leaves.
has
He vividly
is
remembers
an
stabbing Johnny
imagination.
Walker, but there is no blood on his hands or clothes. However, Mimi and Goma are beside him, which makes him think it wasn't a dream. However, he is no longer able to communicate with them. Nakata returns Goma to her family. Feeling he must confess, Nakata approaches a policeman and tries to tell him what happened. The police assumes officer assumes Nakata is a crazy
This comes
old
right
man and
after
sends him on his
stabbing
way.
Johnny Walker,
As
and
he
then
leaves,
the fish
Nakata
and
warns
eels
him that
and
it will
leeches
rain
falling
fish
from the
the
sky.
next day,
So
which
it's
the
kind of like,
officer writes
oh,
off as nonsense, obviously.
that's
When
plausible.
sardines and mackerel inexplicably fall from the sky the next day, the police officer is shaken. Also the next day, the body of a famous sculptor is found stabbed to death in his home. Shocked, the police officer decides to keep quiet about Nakata's prophecy, but by then Nakata has left town. So yeah, weird shit. Raining mackerel.
Yeah, you know, it happens.
Raining Mackerel, of course, being the unreleased Slayer album following Raining Blood.
I thought it was a Captain Beefheart song, but sure.
I thought it was whoever did It's Raining Men, but they sold out for a fishing commercial.
That's by the Extreme Weather Girls.
Oh, right.
That was the poor selling follow up to it's raining men. It's raining fish.
They tried to cash in like the Whoop There It Is guys.
Scoop there.
Yeah.
Those guys are cashing in 30 years later.
Oh,
How much
still
could they have
good.
gotten?
They cashed in right away with Whoop the Addams Family. There it is.
Ooh. Dude, the Addams Family soundtrack. The Addams Family soundtrack is such a treasure trove of just early 90s hip hop garbage. Fucking MC Hammers, they do what they want to do, say what they want to say. Addams Family.
That was a hit single. That charted.
Everything that man touched turned to gold until that just stopped. And sorry for that. Okay. Chapter 19. Kafka settles into his new library room. At around 11:30, 2 serious women enter and begin to chastise Oshima as a male chauvinist for arranging the library in certain anti-woman ways. Oshima announces they are wrong because he is not a male. Twist. Body explains that his body is physically female, but my mind's completely male. Identifies as a gay transgender man. Stunned, the women leave. Kafka and Oshima discuss, ending with some great quotes here. Quote, only people who've been discriminated against can really know how much it hurts. What disgusts me even more are people who have no imagination, the kind T.S. Eliot, callback, calls hollow men, people who fill up that lack of imagination with heartless bits of straw, not even aware of what they're doing. And the last one, those are exactly the kind of people who murdered Miss Saiki's boyfriend. Narrow minds devoid of imagination, intolerance, theories cut off from reality, empty terminology, usurped ideals, inflexible systems. These are the things that really frighten me. Just very good there. What did you guys... if nothing else, how did you guys react to the Oshima being... transgender, I guess.
Well, in this book, I mean, you just roll with it, man.
It's the least crazy thing in the book.
It's like, okay, yeah, that's actually perfectly reasonable.
It might be a hint that if you, the reader, have been reading this book and come across Oshima being trans, and suddenly you're like, oh, I don't know how I feel about that. Like, maybe the problem lies with him.
They hinted it a few times before this, like when he's in the car and he's driving, and he's like, he checked his face to see how he'd shave. It's like, he looked like he'd never shaved a day in his life.
And I hadn't put it together until now, but what's the thing we mentioned of blood always being an omen and this being a hemophiliac who has never had never had a period, it is stated. So this is somebody who is like lacking or cannot engage with without being fatal.
It
This
just-
very extreme
just
central thing to the
continues
plot.
to get
I guess with
weird.
that can-
It just
if a girl has
continues to get
hemophilia-
weird, and if you try and
I never
predict
thought
what's
about
going to
that.
happen, you're
Huh.
not going to get it.
Or make it past 13.
It's funny. Not funny. So when I was
It is-
circumcised as a baby, apparently they fucked
Jesus.
it up because they
No.
immediately went to my mother after doing it and said, "Do you have hemophilia in your family? Because he's still bleeding." Anyway, yeah, I'll just put that in there. I only have so many references for hemophilia, that being one of them.
That's an important one.
Yeah, if I can't talk about my baby,
No
dick,
danger
why
of
do I
that
even
in
have
this
a
book.
podcast? So
Not
Your-
going to happen.
your
You should-
words,
You
not
should, you
ours.
should space it out a little more. You're like your baby dick, not your baby dick. That's you want to.
if I can't have baby dick leave my mouth whenever I want, then what are we even
That
doing?
does
here?
happen.
Your
Yeah.
moil?
I'm just worried how the baby dick got into your mouth. If it's leaving it.
Like a Vienna sausage.
Hmm.
It's like more like a cocktail weenie. Or it's like, well, it's not like, you don't call it a cocktail if it's a baby dick. It's like a peenie tail.
Okay. Final chapter. Chapter 20. Nakata keeps hitchhiking west. On the rest stop, Nakata sees a group of tattooed men beating and kicking another man on the ground in the parking lot. Nakata tells the men to stop, but they ignore him. Once again, he feels something foreign welling up inside of him, as he did when Johnnie Walker was killing the cats. Looking to the sky, Nakata calmly opens his umbrella. As if on his command, the leeches begin to rain from the sky and the young men flee. Shortly afterwards, Nakata finds a truck driver who will take him to Kobe. He is a 20-something man with a distinctive style, ponytail, earring, and flamboyant Hawaiian shirt. He says Nakata reminds him of his grandfather, which is why he agrees to help him. So, Nakata has lost the ability to converse with cats, but it seems like he can predict and make happen very strange weather situations.
He's leveled up. Much better power.
So the question is, if we're moving sequentially, logically, talking to cats, controlling the
Thank you.
weather, what comes next? Are we talking invisibility? Are we talking like always gets 50%
He
off?
can make the best hats in the world.
He always knows, like, without even smelling it, if the milk has gone bad. He just like looks at the container. He's like, nope, don't trust it.
He can also guess within half an hour what time it is.
You wake him up in the middle of the night. God, is it between 2:15 and 2:45? What are you doing? It's too early.
A blessing and a curse, no doubt.
Well, we can't. We don't want to ruin anything that happens, in the remainder of the book. You'll have to see
Because it's
where,
a
if
fucking
anywhere, he
trip.
goes. Yeah.
Okay. Am I on the right path? Is this like a sequential thing that will keep going up until he becomes a flute himself? I don't know.
Oh.
No.
He's gonna go back to the hill where it all started and find that menstrual blood and then level up again. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't follow any linear path. It's just right and left turns.
It'd be boring if you could figure
Yeah.
this bizarre ass book out this early. Like, oh, he's gonna level up to some. That'd be just too simple, man. It's got to be total rug pulling out from under your feet every so many chapters.
Yeah, it does ruin something if you can like guess too early, particularly something as insane as this.
We can promise that you'll never guess ever.
Never guess. Okay, I'm gonna make a Jesse's guessy. Then we will see an appearance of Frankenstein, and the sex scene will be something else. All right.
There are some weird sex scenes.
I imagine more family comes into the play, but that is it for this episode. So the guys from the Drunk Guys Book Club podcast, that would be Mike, Jimmy, and Drunk Nate, as he is named on the Zoom thing. Guys, thank you so much for doing this. Again, tell us where anything you have to promote or where we can find you.
You find our podcast anywhere where you could find fine or even less than fine podcasts, and you could check us out there, like Spotify and all that, iTunes and all that shit. And we also are on Twitter, Drunk Guys BC, as in book club. That's just too many letters.
And Facebook and Instagram at Drunk Guys Book Club.
Also, you could send us an email to drunkguysbookclub@gmail.com if you want to tell us all the things we got wrong or right. We'll listen to either thing.
I would say do that. That's how I got in touch with them and how they made the mistake to end up on this podcast talking about baby dicks. So
You can also join our Goodreads group and talk about books there on off times that are not these times.
awesome. I think I will definitely do that because you guys had a lot of recommendations in this episode and I will have to look into them. So, guys, thank you very much for doing the podcast. And I'll end this the way I always do. I'm going to stop recording and we can keep chatting for a second. See you, everybody.
Thanks so much for having